Are you guys ready for 2025 if you're a bullet journaler? I'm not. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany, and today I'm going to be saying goodbye to the A5 bullet journal. And I thought I would introduce you guys to a new system that I have learned about thanks to JashiiCorrin. I will link her channel down below in the description box. She has a wealth of information about bullet journaling, different types of systems that you can try in bullet journals, and she's just amazing to watch in my opinion. So she's inspired me to create a R&D or research and development book. Sorry for the cat hair. My new kitten has been helping me set up my journals. Oh, that cat, let me tell you. Oh, and please excuse my dog snoring. We just come in from a walk and he is all tuckered out, so he's sleeping hard. But that is what this is. So before I get into that and kind of explain how I'm taking her concept of a research and development book and putting my own spin on it, I want to say goodbye to my A5 bullet journals. So as you can see here, these are all of my bullet journal systems. You can see that I started in July of 2022 bullet journaling, and I'll tell you about the notebooks, where I got them. Each one has 6 months in them. This is my current one here, and I'm just going to show the opening spread because this video is probably going to be long enough as it is, guys. So we're not going to flip through every single page, but I will share with you the opening spreads and tell you where I got my inspiration. So let's get started. Alright, so the first A5 that I started with is an Amanda Rachley notebook. And Amanda Rachley kind of was one of the first bullet journalers that I watched on YouTube. She's kind of what inspired me to get started. Before, when I would do my like monthly planning or tracking of like tasks and to-dos, I would just get like a Lily Pulitzer or a Kate Spade planner. And I would just like use this little stencil set and go through and make like my little droplets of water to make sure I had all my water intake for the day. I'd have like a little sneaker to make sure I got my steps in, things like that. It was very, very basic, low key. And then I wanted to start like developing some type of artist or drawing skill. And so when I saw her videos, I was like, wow, she did that with a blank page. And it just kind of inspired me. So this is an Amanda Rachley notebook. And a lot of my spreads at the beginning were inspired by her, and I put my own spin on them. So this one here for my very first bullet journal spread was one of hers. Hers is a little bit different than mine. Like I said, I put my own spin on it. But this was my very first one. The next one, I started painting. I took some free watercolor classes through Facebook, and Paint with Janet, if you're familiar. I think I've mentioned her before on my channel, but she is fabulous. And what I love about her is not only are her demonstrations or tutorials free on Facebook, she does them live, and then whenever she records them, she puts them up in like past videos in a section on her Facebook, so you can go back and maybe the class went too quickly for you, or maybe you didn't have a supply that you wanted to use and you just kind of watched, you didn't actually do it. You can actually go back through that catalog and do the class again. And so this is a cornflower painting that I did with her. It was one of my first watercolors, and I really, really loved it. It was such a great experience, and I've actually taken a few other classes of hers. All of them have been great. So that was August. And then for September, I got a little bit brave, excuse me, and I decided to get a little bit more creative, and that's when I did my first Dutch door. And I'm not going to open these because there is personal information in there, but they're basically just a piece of the notebook page folded inward to get your Dutch door, and then there's trackers and things inside, and then they're just glued down to the page next to them. But this was inspired by Jurassic Park. I believe around this time is when like one of the newer Jurassic Park movies came out, and I was so excited to see it because I love dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, like the movie series. So that's what kind of inspired this one. And then for October, I really like the movie Hocus Pocus. Like when I was young, that was really popular, and then they came out with Hocus Pocus 2, and I was excited for that. So this is actually like a little inspiration that I found on Pinterest, and I just put my own spin on it and sketched it. I changed the colors up a little bit. This is like my spin on the black flame candle. It's not identical, but it's kind of close. And then I made some stickers that I placed here and there with my Silhouette Portrait 3 machine. Then for November, this I was inspired by Amanda Rachley again, and I made some stickers with my Silhouette Portrait. This is actually a sticker on glitter paper. These are too. Really liked this one. It was fun. I used my watercolor color pencils to do the spreads and the layout for the weeklies, and it turned out so pretty. And then for December, this was another Amanda Rachley inspired one. I didn't follow along with her video. I like came back in after the fact and did it like from memory from watching it. So mine is quite different, but I think it turned out really nicely. So let's get into the next 6 months. Okay, so moving forward, we're now into January of 2023. This is another 6 months, and this notebook is Archer and Olive. This is kind of like a linen cover that has glitter in it. It's very nice. I really like this one. And so to start off, I did a Chinese lunar lantern theme, and this was inspired by Amanda Rachley again. My drawing's starting to get a little bit better. I tried some lettering. You can kind of see the growth process here. February was inspired by Inco Write Month. One of my pen pals introduced me to this, and basically Inco Write Month is where, or Rye Month, however you want to say it, is where for the month of February you are committed to handwriting a letter to an individual for each day of the month, like a different person each day of the month. And it's a really great community. I've enjoyed it, and I've made some really good friends from it. So all of my weekly spreads are little envelopes and postage stamps and wax seals. It's very pretty. I love it. Can't show you though because I have addresses and stuff listed, so that's why I'm just doing the openers. Then March, I was inspired by a dragonfly sighting that I had when my husband and I were down in Marietta touring a museum. And so I looked for inspiration online, and I saw a couple different layout spreads for dragonflies, and then I just like figured out how to draw them and went crazy and just drew them all over the pages. And then for April, I was inspired by Sakura season and cherry blossoms. This is kind of similar to a spread that Amanda Rachley did, but mine's a little bit on a smaller scale. I have some of those paper lanterns again that kind of carried through from January, which I loved. And then May, I did koi fish. Again, I believe this was either inspiration that I found online through like a community of bullet journaling or Amanda Rachley. Like I said, I really loved watching her videos when I first started out. I still watch them. I just kind of like do my own art now. And then for June, I was inspired by Amber's notebooks, and I loved Amber's notebooks. Again, I'll put this one down in the description box too, because she did a lot of like experimenting with like the black pages. So I actually got the Archer and Olive page sets that have like 5 or 6 different colors in them, and they're just like a notepad filled with the pages, the bullet like dot grid pages. And I used the black, and I just tore out some of the white, and then I taped the black in, and that's what I did my spreads for June. Alright, so let's go into the next 6 months. Okay, so the next 6 months is going to be in another Amanda Rach Lee bullet journal. She always does these little designs on the covers, and they're usually a design that she had incorporated into her spreads or layouts for the previous year's bullet journaling systems. So I always loved that about her notebooks. And this is going to take us from July through December of 2023. So to get started, and you'll notice this is where I kind of like break away and start doing some of my own art, coming up with my own ideas. This is inspired by Motherland. It's a TV series, and also the American Revolution, because around this time was when I was proving my ancestor was a Revolutionary War patriot. And so I wanted to kind of like dedicate my spread to that moment in history. And also my birthday is in July, and my husband and I's wedding anniversary is in July. Our puppy's birthday is July 4th. So it was just a really special month, and I kind of went all like fireworky and celebratory in all of my spreads. Then August is another one where I drew my inspiration from Amanda Rach Lee, only I put my own spin on it, and I kind of did my own drawings for the stained glass. I picked my own quote. In September, this is another inspiration that I got from Amanda Rach Lee, and it's after the TV show The Summer I Turned Pretty. But I wanted to experiment with this just because this was around the time when I was doing those watercolor classes with Paint with Janet that I was talking about. And so this is watercolor, and I did it on a watercolor postcard. And then this is like my own little theme over here, which I think is really cute and complimentary, the colors. And then for October, I really enjoy the movie with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, Practical Magic. So this is inspiration that I got from the community on Pinterest, the bullet journaling community. I used different colors, different florals, did my own spin there. And then for November, I did, space themed. And I got my little space guide down here. And I came up with the quote over here. And then for December is snowflakes, and this is kind of like my own theme here. And this is when I started really getting into coming up with my own themes and doing things that I enjoyed myself. Alright, so now we're going to get into 2024. Moving into 2024, I'm going back to an Archer and Olive notebook, and this is the Sparrow. Some of this is going to look familiar if you've been around on the channel and have been following my journey with bullet journaling, just because I started to do plan with me videos on my channel in 2024. So all of these you should be able to access on my channel if you want to watch the process of me setting them up and hear me talk about them. I will link the playlist in my description box if you want to go back and watch those. But to get started, I love this little spread I did at the beginning for 2024. I'm probably going to do something like that for 2025 too. I just haven't decided how I want to do it. But anyways, so for January, what I did was I chose a word for the year, and my word for 2024 was limitless. And that rang so true for me because I did so much stuff in 2024. I documented a lot of it here on my channel. But there are also a lot of things that I did that I didn't record. And so this has just been an amazing year, and that word definitely fit. I already have my word picked out for 2025. Don't worry. I'm going to do kind of like a same setup here in 2025 bullet journal, only I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'll probably still have like the word, the definition, and then like a why or something related to that. So this is inspiration that I got off of the bullet journal community on Pinterest, and this is a really beautiful clock. If you find it, you'll just see how gorgeous it is, and I did my best to not replicate it exactly, but just put my spin on it. And you'll notice too that this is when I really got brave with those Dutch doors. So a lot of my spreads in 2024 have those Dutch doors. Then in February, I did the Messy Hearts. This was kind of similar to something that I saw Amanda Rach Lee do, only mine is much more simple and messy. I didn't get as in detailed as she did. Then this was a special month also because it's the month that my husband proposed to me way back in the day. So I have the photo of our wedding rings on my Bible, and this lovely quote from Leap Year, the movie. In March, I was doing a lot of genealogy research for my family and ancestors, and so I put this German philosopher Goethe quote on here with like some German aesthetic building or architecture. You could see here how my art still hasn't gotten fully developed. The dimensions here, the perspective is a little off. And then I got a Dutch door here with Pennsylvania Dutch hex sign, which is really nice. I love that. And then for April, I decided I was going to do a family crest, and this is what I came up with for my last name. I kind of put my own spin on it. And then this was around the time when I was in Photoshop classes, learning how to do like basic editing. And so I took a couple images and layered them, and then I was able to come up with the inspiration for this sketch. And then I just have this little quote around it. This is a chunky month because we had Coachella. There was something else that we did that month. So there's lots of pictures and memorabilia in there. And then for May, I did Mario May because I love Super Mario Brothers. Grew up playing them like in competition with my older brother all the time. I could never beat his score. I don't know. Even now that I have a Nintendo DS, I still can't meet his score. He was just a genius at it. But so I decided to do Super Mario Brothers. And I love this quote here. You'll never know if you don't reach for it. Because you know how you go up the little stairs at the end of the game and you jump to try to get the flag to get the most points. I love it. And then for June, again, I was doing honoring my family history. This was inspired by my great-grandmother, who had a collection of blue willowware dishes in her kitchen. So that's what this theme is. I drew this little border and I kind of like messed up the design, but I thought it still looked pretty, so I left it. And then these are photos of the tile floor that's in my kitchen, and I turned them into stickers, and I just adjusted the saturation and contrast in my computer so that you could see the blue the most, because it does have some brown and gold in it, but I wanted the blue to be popping so that it would go with the blue willow stickers that I made. And this is a sticker that I made. All right, we're almost done. So now I want to say goodbye to my most current one, even though December's not quite in there yet. I will do a December plan with me video, but let's just go through until November. Now for July through November of 2024, because we're not through December yet, I am in a notebook therapy bullet journal. And notebook therapy I love because they have so many designs in the A5. They come out with them pretty often, and they have more color choices. So prior to moving into this one, if you watch the video where I open into this one and start it, you probably understand where I was going with the every other bullet journal being blue, green, blue, green. But the reason I stopped is because I was getting some of my bullet journals from Amanda Rach Lee, and she paused the blank notebooks in her designs, so I wasn't able to get one in time, and therefore I changed up my whole scheme and went into this beautiful burgundy one. And I love that it has a Torii on it, because around the time that I was going into this one was when I was doing a lot of research and reading in Japan culture. So getting into this one, we start with the month of July 2024, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, July is a very special month for my husband and I. Both of our birthdays are in July. Our wedding anniversary is in July. Our dog's birthday is July 4th. It's just a very fun, packed month, very memorable, and so I have this little quote over here because this year we celebrated 15 years of marriage. We've been together for 19, so really showing my age there. And I just did a falling heart curtain. This isn't a Dutch door. I kind of got away from the Dutch door in the second half of 2024, but I made it look like a curtain by dipping it in on the middle, which I still think that's a pretty neat effect. Moving into August is when I started to take some Skillshare classes, and I was learning how to do this bamboo. I will say I was first inspired by Amanda Rachley. She did a similar bamboo type artwork in one of her journals, and so I found that class on Skillshare, and then I learned how to do this panda, and so I just combined them. I added them. I thought it was really cool. And in September is when all the fall festivals in my area start, and that's when people start gathering for the hot air balloon festivals. And if you've been kind of waiting for me to talk about my experience with it this year, I hate to tell you, but you're going to have to keep waiting because I didn't get to go. More or less, there's 3 that's in the somewhat proximity of where I live. They're all still like 2 hours plus away. But the one that we were going to go, we didn't. The first one that happened in September, we didn't because I was sick. And then the second one got canceled because of Hurricane Helene. And then the third one got canceled for unforeseen circumstances. There was an issue with a couple of the pilots, some family, there were complications. So the whole weekend got canceled. So here's to 2025, but this is one of the hot air balloons that was at the first hot air balloon festival that is in September, and it was last year that they had this one. This year that festival had an eagle shaped balloon, which I still think is pretty cool, but I loved the seahorse, so I did it with that. And then these little washi stickers are from Yoseka Stationery. Then in October, you can see my drawing and sketching is getting much better. I'm feeling a little bit more confident in shapes. This is an inspiration I got from the bullet journal community on Pinterest. I just put my little spin on it. And then this is a rubber stamp that I have, and the button I drew. And then for November, you guys know I am honoring one of my military ancestors because so many of the men in my family have served. I decided that in November of each year I'm going to dedicate that bullet journal spread to looking up that ancestors' military records, learning about what their service was like. And this particular one is for my maternal grandfather who served in World War II. And he actually flew rescue missions in North Africa. So I am requesting his military records for genealogical purposes. And the whole spread you saw me set up has stuff for him. I will say though, if I can find it here real quick for you, I did make a spelling error on one of these spreads. And I wanted to show you how I fixed that. So let me see if I can find it real quick. Alright guys, so I noticed after I recorded that I misspelled basic combat training. And what I did was, since my grandfather flew the rescue missions and most likely dealt with plane maintenance, I painted over my spelling error with a Posca white paint pen, and then I spelled it correctly with the same pen that I used over for basic and combat. And then I just did that same thing throughout the rest of the page where I had my trackers to give little impressions of clouds. So this is basically like resting in a sky of clouds, which I thought was pretty on point for the theme, right? Nice save, if I say so myself. So that's goodbye to A5. And if you're kind of wondering why I'm saying goodbye to A5, it's because in 2025 I'm moving into an 8x8 square bullet journal. So after watching JashiiCorrin and getting ideas for layouts for square bullet journals, I just happened to come across where she's talking about a research and development, or R&D book. And so what I did was I thought, if for whatever reason I'm not liking the 8x8 square and I want to go back to the A5, I don't want to have to pull all of these books out of storage, because I am going to be storing them in my hope chest at the end of the year. And so what I did was I took a blank notebook. Well, it's not blank exactly. This is an Archer and Olive. It's got the little Celestial Leo constellation on there. But what I did was, this used to be where I wrote personal dialogue type journaling, stream of consciousness type journaling. And so because I hadn't picked it up in months, I went in and I glued my pages down. This is another way, if you don't want to use a Paint Posca pen to like correct your errors, or like a whiteout strip like I used here to correct your mistakes. You can just glue your pages together. Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to glue this many together, but I did, just because I didn't think that was very much to lose in this journal, and I didn't want this journal to go to waste. So this is now my research and development book, and what I'm doing is I'm going in here, I'm drawing little artwork that I might want to use in the future. I'm doing some border layouts. I have some notes on how to do the spacing. I'm practicing borders and dividers, and this is just a nice way to have something, a resource for yourself to go back to if you want to, say, change sizes of notebooks, or just try things out without messing up your main journal. Like, I know that I would have loved to have had this particular border for my June Blue Willow. I think that would have matched really well. And I'm loving this tulip spread up here, but I know that that's kind of a wide banner, so that might only be appropriate for maybe, say, an opening spread. But I love that I was able to practice it or test it out before I actually went and did it. And so that's one section. Another section, which this is what I'm loving most about this idea. She shares this little grid layout in one of her notebooks, and I did the spacing here to remind myself, so that whenever I continue this in this one or do it in my new journal, which I am going to do this layout in my 2025 square. This is going to be where I plan my 6 months at a glance. It's going to be sketched in that one. So what I did was, all those bullet journal spreads that I just shared with you, I took a photo of them, and then I pasted them into these blocks, and then I made a note to myself of what tools I used to create that. So let me hold it up for you. So like my very first one, I know that I used Tombow dual brush markers. For the December of my first bullet journal, I know that those were watercolors. And then I just kind of put like what the theme was, who inspired me, and abbreviations, and the month and year. And so this is a wonderful record to know what I did when, so that I don't repeat it. And then also it's a good resource to look back and see my growth for art. Like, you can definitely see which ones I spent more time on, which ones I kind of like hurried through. And you can see how my sketching is developing. And then I love that I have a record of my art supplies now. So this is kind of like a nice coloring tool. Like if you go to a paint shop, how they have the color wheel to choose your paint colors from. this is what that is representative to me. So I can just turn in here and I can say, oh, those colors look really good together. I'm going to do those again. And so I love that. And I even have 2024 in here already. You could definitely tell a difference from when I started to where I am now. And I just cannot wait to get more of these filled in so I can continue to see that progress. Like this right here is confirmation of why I wanted to start all these journaling systems this year and just test them out, learn what they're for, learn how other people use them, try that, you know, method out for myself and see what works, because this is a wonderful result and I'm very happy with it. And I think that it's going to be a really good resource for me in the future, and I'm going to do this for my 8x8 square as well. I think that it would be really nice to have all of that for that size of notebook as well. And then the last section that I have in here are my weekly layouts. So I went through all of my bullet journals that I've ever done through the weeklies, and I put those in here. But this first one that I'm showing you is something that I also learned from JashiiCorrin, and I think I'm going to do it for 24. So there's this idea of 24 in 24. So we're in 2024, and the idea is to have like 24 favorite movies or 24 favorite songs, or maybe you picked something that you wanted to do 24 times. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my movies and my music, because that's a common tracker that I have across every month in all of my bullet journals. And I'm just going to go through them. I've already created the list for 2024, and I'm just going to go through them all and pick out like the movie poster or the CD album cover or something and do pictures of my favorites. And I will say that this is very time consuming, because just typing out the movies that I watched in 2024, I'm up to, I think, 95 is where I left off. Okay, so first let me just say 95 movies. How did you watch them all? All I can say, guys, is we have streaming services, we have a nice cable package, and we used to have a theater local. It's since closed, so that number's probably going to decline in 2025. But they would do like afternoon matinee deals where you could go see a movie for $5 on Tuesdays, all kinds of things. And I love the movies. And so with my songs, that's even more than 95. So it's going to take me a while to go through all of them. But that's what I'm going to do there. And then when I close out my current bullet journal, I'm going to have a goodbye section. I did that in my 2023 one, but this is going to be the first year I'm going to share it, I think. I don't think I shared anything in 2023, but my goodbye 2024 section is going to have these. So if you're curious about what my favorites were, that's when you'll get to see those. It's a work in progress. All right, so for the weeklies, I have this in the weekly section because this is my current photo a day challenge. Now, in 2023, I started an art challenge called Nosegay Novembers. And while I had every nosegay that I wanted to sketch picked out for this November, I paused that because of my sabbatical on my channel and Instagram and other socials. And I decided to do a photo a day in honor of my grandfather, who collected cameras and binoculars and telescopes and equipment. And so I've tied this into my current art therapy class that I'm taking, because I have to do a research paper. It's actually due tomorrow. I really need to wrap that up. But the art that I'm doing for that is what I'm doing my photos on. So you will see that in December when I do my December plan with me. But I left that in my weeklies because this is a nice way that you can set up your weekly. You'll have an extra block, of course, but that's great for putting photos, a quote, song lyrics, your favorite thing that happened that week, whatever you like. And so basically this is the same concept as what I'm doing in the front of the journal, where I'm giving myself notes of the grid length and width and other areas that aren't blocked off what I use them for. I also have a sample in here for reference of how I set the date and the day of the week, just for ease of recreating in the future. So this is one that I use quite often. This one I love. I love that it has a drop shadow. This one is one I used in October with Coraline. I kind of like it. It was a newer one. And so these are going from most recent to oldest. If some of these look familiar, that's why. This is the one I used in September with the hot air balloons. This one is August, I believe. And for this one, I will say you could either draw this one out, or I used colored dot grid paper and I cut it to these shapes. This was a nice one because I had art all the way across the middle, which turned out really pretty. This is the one that I used when I did my Doodle a Day challenge. And this is when I first learned about Doodle a Day and I wanted to give it a try. So down here at the bottom of each day of the week is where I did my little doodle. And I had that for the whole month. It was really neat. I loved it. This one, there's a couple different ways that you can do this one. And the way I did it was where I had snowflakes all around it. It was for December. You could also use this in the spring and have like a vine going around, or like flowers falling and hanging off. This one is one that I want to try in 2025 because how I did it was I had these boxes as are, but I didn't have the grid in the background. So this grid is something I learned from JashiiCorrin also. And I'm really excited to try that out in 2025. This is another fun one. Just kind of how they go opposite of each other. And this is plenty of space for you to do like a mood tracker or a little short habit tracker list. This one was a more challenging one. I swear I took pages and made a Dutch door for the entire month. And I did like it, but I had little like half moons at the top of each of these days that I had to cut around, so that did make it challenging, but I did like that one. This one's when I did the koi fish and I had the little stream of water and lily pads going across here. I did like this one, but I didn't like how there was uneven space for my days. There's a lot more room over here than there is here. This one was nice as well. It was again the koi fish. But because it took so much room in the middle, I found that there wasn't a lot of room to write for my days, for my tasks. I liked this one because they were opposite of each other and it just kind of like was engaging whenever I would look at it. This one gets the most space for your page, which I liked it. The art that I drew was kind of big. It was in my cherry blossom, so I had like a big cherry blossom vine here. It kind of took away from these 2 days the most, which was okay, I guess. Not if you have a lot of stuff, obviously. This is what I did for February for Inko Rai month, and these were all envelopes with stamps for my days of the week. This is a nice one as well. Gives you a nice column on the side if you want to do a tracker or just make a list. I really like this spread as well. Just because I always put my meal on my day of the week, so having these boxes at the top was where I always put my menu, and it was nice because there was enough space that if I needed an ingredient from the store, I could just put it there as kind of like a little reminder note, which was really helpful. But you could also use that block as a Doodle a Day square, or you could just omit it and not even put that line in to divide it. This one is kind of like the previous concept where we had the 8 blocks across the spread, only these ones are larger so you have less space between them. This one here is kind of like those moving blocks, only they're larger. This one I like more just because it's more even looking. So it's more pleasing to the eye. You do have a little bit of space down at the bottom where you could put some washi tape or like a brief quote or song lyric. And then I also like how the dates go opposite, which I thought that was a nice way to do it. I did put some spacing notes for myself. And I just think that this is going to make it easier when I go back in. I have a grid spacing here that's across 2 pages. Usually I do grid spacing on 1 page or even half of 1 page as a bookmark. This I think is more useful for myself just because it has all horizontal versus all vertical, which is really helpful, I think. Excuse me. This one I like, but if I do it again, I want to change up the weekends where they're larger. Just because I think that this isn't enough, and obviously Saturday is shorter than Sunday, which I think I did that because I had more things that I was doing at the time on Sundays, but there's really no need for that. You could have, like, I could have easily made these even, so I might change that going forward. This is a very lovely one. I loved doing this one, and it was inspired by Amanda Rach Lee. She has like a toad mushroom, like garden gnome setup. That's what this is from. I really like how decorative it is. And then again, it has the space there for the menu. And then this is just another spin on the 8 blocks across both pages. Where you have like a little banner up here, and I did use a, no I didn't use a stencil on that. I just made the lines, because you can see I messed up there. Alright, and so that's something that I'm really looking forward to creating for myself in 2025, because had I had this when I started bullet journaling, it would have been so much quicker to set up my layouts. But, you know, in my personal opinion, you can only create something like this through experience. I mean, I don't know anyone who just starts something like bullet journaling with a handbook. You know what I'm saying? That comes with all the layouts and all the templates. I mean, maybe somebody did. You know, if that's the case, I'm a little jealous. But that's something that I'm enjoying. And like I said, I will link JashiiCorrin, Amber's Notebooks, and Amanda Rach Lee in the description box if you want to take a look for yourself, see if there's anything that maybe you might be inspired by. There's lots of other bullet journalers out there who have plenty of content on YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook. There's groups, there's communities you can join, and I really hope that this got you excited for starting to plan in 2025 and it gave you some ideas. But that's what I have for you today, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this and are looking forward to seeing my 2025 setup. I'll see you guys then. Bye!